Hi, Carl Baker here with Infinity Commercial Capital, and haven't done a video for a while, but before I move on to the subject that I want to talk about, check out our podcast, Infinite Returns, a podcast about commercial real estate investing. You can find it on YouTube or any of the podcast streaming video or streaming platforms that you probably use. As a lender, people ask me all the time, daily, basically every time I'm on the phone with somebody, what's the rate? What are your current rates? And I would argue that that's probably not necessarily the first question I would ask. There are other questions that I would have to ask to be able to answer that. What's the asset class? Are you wanting a commercial loan or a personal loan? There are, what's your credit score? There are many factors that enter into what a rate might be on a loan. But really, when people are asking what's the rate, I think they're assuming, first of all, I think there's a question behind that question, and I think they're assuming lowest rate equals lowest payment, but that's not necessarily the case, and I wanted to talk to you about that today. I want to just give a couple examples. Let's just use a $100,000 loan, and the math applies no matter what, but I've done the math, and you can check this out on a rate calculator. But if you have a $100,000 loan and somebody offers an 8% rate, a 30-year loan at 8% would generate a principal and interest payment of $734. If somebody else offers that same $100,000 loan at 6.5%, that's 1.5 points lower, 150 basis points lower, but they're only able to offer a 20-year amortization, which is quite common in the bank financing world. Banks tend to offer a 5-year fixed rate loan with a 20-year amortization, meaning it's a payment as if it's a 20-year note, but it's really a 5-year note. That payment would be $746. That's $12 more than a 8% loan that has a 30-year amortization. So the 8% loan has the higher rate, but the actual lower payment. That's a 1.6% lower payment. By contrast, a $100,000 loan, 8% term at 20-year amortization, which is more commonly how a 30-year loan that we would offer would be compared. A 20-year loan or 20-year amortization, 8% loan would have a payment of $836. That's $102 more than the 30-year loan. Even though the interest rate is the same, that's 12% more in the principal and interest payment. So again, I go back to somebody asking what's the rate. There are many factors involved in that, and I would say that's not necessarily the most important factor to be asking. And then the question is, which should you be choosing? Should you choose the lower rate with the higher payment, or should you choose the higher rate with the longer term and the lower payment? Well, I could answer that question in different ways, and it really just depends on what your objectives are. If your objectives are to pay down the principal as quick as possible, then choose the lower rate and the faster term, or choose the equivalent rate with the faster term. If you're absolutely looking for the lowest payment, then you might want to stretch the payment out as long as possible with a 30-year term. But it all just depends on your own scenario. And, I'm a licensed CPA. I would answer that question with a different answer from a CPA's perspective than I would possibly from an investor's perspective. CPAs tend to be conservative, and they're always thinking pay down debt as quick as possible, and that may not always be the right answer. Investors tend to want to have the lowest payment possible, and so that would produce a different result. But really, I just wanted to talk about that and illustrate the huge difference that comes from a loan payment that has nothing to do with the rate. It has more to do with the term of the loan, and I think that's important. And just raising awareness about that and helping investors understand their other options. So if you have other questions, we talk to investors all the time. We want to listen to what your objectives are, understand what you're trying to accomplish, and work with you and represent you to find the right funding path, and we'd be happy to do that with you. Reach out to us with our website, infinitycomcapital.com. Call us at 314-403-7745. Email us at info@infinitycomcapital.com, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.